Okay, so this is going to be a sort of quite quick video. It's going to be a quick summary and roundup of all the mods that I'm going to be using for my upcoming Mega campaign, which, as I post this video, will be live on Twitch, and the VOD will be linked in the description. But generally, this is the list of mods that I would recommend for improving your playthrough in general, whether you're a beginning player or whether you're an experienced player who just wants to mix things up a little bit. We will start from the top, I guess, and sort of go down the list. This whole playlist will be linked in the description of the video if you want to try it out. The first video in our collection is video mod in our collection is a mod called Born This Way, which it changes the way that gay characters work in the game. There is a flag set at birth that determines whether a character has the chance to be, well, determines whether a character is gay or not. They will receive an event at some point in their life where they can either accept this and gain the trait homosexual, or they can reject their feelings and their identity and they will gain a negative effect. Usually, I think it's the depressed trait. I think it can also be the stress trait, but I would have to double check that. And if a character loses the homosexual trait through a vanilla event, or I think from an event for another mod would affect it as well, then they would also similarly gain this penalty. Uh, the next mod on our list is Cadet Dynasties, which helps break up the blob and spread of singular dynasties across the world. Where if I scroll down, it has the requirements here. If you follow all of these requirements, which are you have to be a duke or above. Your character can't have created a cadet dynasty already. You can't be the head of the dynasty. You can't be the heir. Must be adult. Can't be in prison. Can't be related to the close relative. And you must have a child of your current dynasty, have some prestige, a little bit of wealth, and also you have to be sort of the dominant partner in your marriage. That's matrilineal if you're female, and patrilineal or sort of standard if you're male. And then you can create a cadet dynasty, uh, which function sort of the same way that bastard dynasties do. And the AI will also take this decision, so you will see some unique names pop up, and it just sort of helps break up the monotony of the same dynasties everywhere. The next one is Decisive Battles, which is the mod that kind of reflects like it sort of reflects the stories about medieval battles by going back to the pre 2.5 combat system, where there are a lot more casualties, but it's a lot faster to retreat from battle. And it means that you'll tend to get more war score per battle, and you will also tend to get like these battles, as it says in the name, will be much more decisive for the war in question. Because if your armies, the two main armies, come together in a battle and you win, you can from then on out pretty much steamroll them. So this one, I guess, is kind of up to personal preference if you want wars to be in tight contention for much longer. Personally, I like the glory of those big battles that tend to be quite decisive, so I really like this mod. Um, Next one down is improved genetics, which adds an actual genetic system. It assigns sort of dominant and recessive tags to all the traits, to all the genes that determine your genetic traits in game, like genius, quick, inbred as well. Not inbred actually. That's a bad example, but like Hunchback, for example. Then it uses a very basic genetic model. You see here it uses a Punnett square, um, which is if you didn't study it in biology, it's just a pretty simple representation of your sort of genes, where capital letters are the dominant genes that will be expressed if you only have one of them, and your lowercase letters are your recessive genes, which will be expressed if you have um, you'd only be expressed if you have both of those copies of the gene are recessive. But we're not here for a genetics lesson. But it just it improves the system a bit, and it also adds new traits within the sort of categories. So between giant and dwarf, there are more traits. Between attractive and ugly, there are more traits. And it makes it a little bit more interesting and a little bit more realistic as to which traits get passed on to children. Next one is Islamic instability, which curbs the sort of sometimes overpowered blobbing abilities of Islamic nations in CK2. Now, it's a bit of a misnomer because it actually affects all characters who have open succession. But whenever a Muslim king, if it's before 1066, or an emperor after 1066 to stop them getting too weak, dies, every claimant to their title will start a civil war, which helps these empires sort of rise and fall and collapse in a much more historical timeline rather than blobbing up across the map. As I said, though, this does apply to anyone with the open succession type, meaning that if you reform pagan to have if the agnatic or enatic clans, I believe, give it to you, and it it generally means that if you reform to one of those religions, you do just have to keep a slightly closer eye on your succession so that you don't get civil warred into oblivion. Nicknames plus 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 is the next mod, and it does what it says on the tin. As see here, 187 new nicknames, which really makes your epithets look unique, and just adds a bit more flavor to the game. And it's just it doesn't come with any drawback. It is, as far as I'm concerned, a pure positive because it just adds more variety and more uniqueness to each character and each playthrough. Next is Infinite Game, which is one that I probably won't use in this mega campaign, but it will. It's nice to have the option in case I want it, and it removes the end date of the game so that it doesn't end in 1453, and you can just keep playing. Um, Now we have Patrum Scooter, and this changes your coats of arms to make them much similar to the historical ones, where it just has a more sort of historical style, and it feels a bit more sort of real and unique than default because there's so many more options than there are in the base game. In addition, this adds loads more options when you're creating a coat of arms in the character creator. Um, and although there is one thing where on the end game screen, it does occasionally put your coat of arms sort of out of alignment, but that's really not that much of an issue at all. The next two mods kind of go together. They are rename anyone, which lets you rename any character, and rename titles, which let you rename titles that you personally own. And I believe these two mods should be base game functionality, that I believe you can also get them through one of the paid DLC, which I think is a bit of a scam. So I highly recommend these mods, but although I do really, really think they should have been just base game functionality, and I think it is quite cheeky from Paradox that they weren't. Next one is Rich Childhood, which helps break up the monotony of playing a child ruler by adding a bunch more flavor events and other events, lovers, rivals, friendships that really can shape your character as an adult. Now, I tend to play with, there's an option where you can set who this is available for, I believe it is your player character, your player character's family, all characters. I tend to play with it set to all characters, so we all have a level playing field. This does often lead to everyone having rivalries with their siblings, which I can see why you wouldn't want that, but I think it is worth it for having the child ruler experience made so much less painful to sit through. Our penultimate mod now is Sketchy Traits, which is named after the creator, not after the quality of the traits, and it adds a bunch of new personality traits that your characters can get, which helps make them feel a bit more unique. It does also add a few new education traits as well, but I don't believe these are compatible, with the Conclave education system, so I very rarely see them in my games, especially now that I have the Conclave DLC. And I also don't think they are generally as good as the base game education traits, but that's fine because it's good to have variety. And the last mod in this pack is Viet Events Reborn, which is another flavor mod, and it adds a whole host of new events, most of them pretty low stakes. See if I can find the exact number somewhere down here. Yeah, don't know what that is actually going to say, but it has a whole load of different events of you can turn off some of the more sort of silly or sort of absurd events in the game rule settings. and it just really helps your game feel a bit more alive and unique at times. And finally, there are two more mods rather, I recommend that are not in this collection because I won't be using them for the mega campaign, and they are Ruler Designer Unlocked, which which means you no longer have any limitations on what you can do with the Ruler Designer. It makes all the traits free, and lets you turn yourself immortal. It lets you turn yourself into one of the animals from the Holy Fury update as well. And the other mod I recommend but haven't included here is a mod called Trait Softcap Exterminated, which removes the upper limit on the number of traits a character can have, which is a bit of a double-edged sword because yes, it means you don't randomly lose a trait like ambitious or shrewd or diligent or patient, but it does also mean that uh, you can get really overpowered characters because your traits stack without end. So you can easily, if you have loads of traits that affect a single stat, you can easily get like 20 to 30 in that stat, which is a little bit broken. As I say, this is my mods I recommend. You can, find this collection in the video description. You can also find Twitch, my Discord, the VODs once they go up. And yeah, that's all from me. Have a lovely day. Bye.